All right, my name's Amelia Harrington.
I'm Linda Kornberg.
I'm Jessie Dunn.
I'm Tammy Carson.
Morgan Stratford.
All right, so this week we are talking about the interviews that we did with organizations. So who would like to share their interview first?
I can do mine. So I contacted the Army's Family Advocacy Office and got an appointment to interview their exceptional family member program director. And it's called EFMP. Anybody in the family that has special needs, whether it's medically, with asthma or allergies, or if they have autism, any range of exceptional needs that they have fall under this category. And so then they are kind of watched over by this group, this family advocacy group. And so I'll just tell you down the list, what led her to get involved was that her husband's military. He's been in for over 30 years, and they've moved, I think she said 7 times in the last 8 years. So he's got to be an officer, and they move him a lot. But she said that she started with family advocacy and had the opportunity to move to the EFMP program. And so that's why she did that. And then the next part, what do you see as the most prevalent problems for families in the community? A lot of it just dealt with military life, having to move frequently, maybe not being able to get the services that they need. If they're not honest on when they are filling out information when they get their orders, if they're not honest about the needs of their family, then for fear that the orders will be taken away or something, then they get to their new base and they don't have the services that they need. So they help deal with all of that kind of stuff. So they serve the active duty Army community as well as the civilians working there. And they also coordinate with the Air Force resources. And in the area here where we live, within about a 30-mile radius, there's probably 20 bases because of the war. They just never closed them down, most of them. And so everywhere you turn, there's another base. But so they coordinate a lot with the Air Force resources and pass information on to the other bases. They deal with not just the child, but the whole family. And they include the families in their activities and in their classes. So some of the things that they do, they have a support group that meets once a month. It's called Spectrum, and that's for the ones with autism, with a family member with autism. And it's for the whole family to come, and they plan some kind of activity. They have a play group for up to 5 years old for any special needs, and for anyone that is enrolled in the EFMP program. And they have a teen night for those with challenges, and they let them bring a friend so that they don't feel awkward. And they do a family night, and she said they just recently did a paint and sip. I don't know why they call it. Well, they call it that because they let the kids paint while the parents have a drink, not a alcohol, but soda. And she said they had just started that, and it's mostly for the families with kids who have either autism or behavior problems. And she said it was just amazing how the parents commented that it was the first time they felt like they could just relax and not be worried that their child might do something that was going to embarrass them, or anyway, the child could just be themselves. And the parents were able to relax and visit with other parents in the same situation. And the children were able to paint and enjoy themselves at the same time. She said that was a really amazing experience, and so they're going to continue doing that. Once a year, they have a resource fair. So they have 30 different agencies that come and set up booths so that the families of these EFMP members of their family, those families can come and find out all the different resources that are available to them in the area. And that does include some German resources as well, but mostly it's within the American military communities. And their goal is to create a safe environment for the children and the families. They've started doing trips to zoos and museums in the area. And then I asked her a couple of questions out of the textbook, the reading. I asked her if because of the constant turnover in friends and neighbors being military, if that has a negative impact on the children that they service. And she said it does to an extent, but they try and keep those families in place for at least 4 years instead of moving them every 2 years or every 3 years. They specifically try and make sure that their orders are for at least 4 years so that it gives the kids some stability. And then we talked about the schools, and there are DOD schools, Department of Defense schools here. And there's level 1 that has no resources whatsoever. There's a level 2 that has limited resources for children with learning delay or autism or behavior problems. And then there's level 3 resources. Level 3 schools have all the resources. And it was interesting because she said if they aren't really upfront about the severity of their child's needs, they get over here and move into a place, and it might not be in the district, within the boundaries of the school that they really need to go to. So then the school has to pay for that child to be bused. So they're really trying to get the military members to be very thorough when they tell about their family members. And they usually do, at least for the military people, they put the whole family through a screening. So that usually catches them. And then the educational opportunities for the child, that was what the schools were about. And they do get the resources that they need at the school because they're either in that district or they get transported to a school that has that. And I think that was about it. She gave me this little brochure of all the different things that the EFMP program does. And I know the Air Force does it. I don't know, and I'm sure the Navy and the Marines do as well, but this was specifically for the for the Army community. So that was my interview. I don't know, are you supposed to ask me questions? If you have, okay.
I don't know.
If you have some, you can ask
We have
me.
a question. I was just curious. I was going to ask if she could identify why families don't report fully, what the needs are. Are they just afraid they won't get the opportunity to go?
Right, because depending on and years ago it used to be if your spouse or one of your children had mental issues like depression or anything, they would not send you anywhere. So people oftentimes kept that under the wraps. But that's changed. That's changed completely. But with children, they get these orders and then they're afraid, it's something they want to do, and they're afraid if they say that their child has asthma, and then they get sent somewhere that they usually will get sent back, at the cost of the Air Force or the Army. But a lot of times the orders will be pulled if it's something severe, because like in this area, maybe there's no services for a specific illness or so they would pull the orders if they're completely honest about that. As far as I think anywhere they would probably send them if they have behavior problems or autism, because most areas now at least have some services for that.
That's really interesting.
Okay.
I can go next. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Let's see. So I was supposed to interview Carlos yesterday from the Gardner Health Services, and he respectfully declined. So all I have is the information from their website, which is actually very resourceful. They have a ton of information. They have been serving the community for, they're celebrating their 50th anniversary. And in their mission statement, it says, Gardner is dedicated to improving the health status of the communities we serve, especially the disenfranchised, disadvantaged, and most vulnerable members. Our mission is to provide high quality, comprehensive health care, and including prevention and education, early intervention, treatment, advocacy services, which are affordable, respectful, culturally, linguistically, and age appropriate. So they are serving the community on a wide spectrum. And for the question when it says, what do you see are the most prevalent problems in families here in the community? Well, they are in a community where there's more low income population. And so they're trying to serve the people that can't afford basically health care and fall in the cracks in between Obamacare. And so they offer services at a very low cost and don't reject anyone, basically. And they're they have a lot of volunteers there, I mean, as well as employees, but, and they accept donations. I couldn't find if there was some sort of government funding for them because I was trying to figure out how they functioned. So I'm not sure about that part, but how does your organization help children and families locally? Let's see. It says that they have been at the front lines of healthcare battlefield, providing essential healthcare regardless of pre-existing conditions or ability to pay. I already said that. Today, they serve roughly 39,600 patients, of which over 7,200 were ineligible for coverage prior. And even with the Obamacare going on. Do you feel the organization is child or family focused? I feel like it is because they offer many services. One specifically is they offer women, infant, and children care specifically. They have an area for that. And something they did recently and they do annually is they have a laptop program where they give away free laptops to students. And so just last month, they gave away 37 laptops to students in the county. And what are some other programs that they offer, especially for parents? I put down that they offer mental health services and substance abuse and treatment specifically for people who are struggling in those areas. And I think that they do play a big role in the community. The fact that they're able to reach such a wide spectrum of people in this area. So, any questions?
Well, I was just going to say that they really reach across the different ecosystems, you know, because in order even just to give away laptops to students, that means they're working with schools or multiple school districts if they're covering a whole county to identify students who have that need and would benefit from that. So that's just one example of how they're working within all of that. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
All right, so I was going to do an interview with, I was trying to get a hold of someone from Journey's DDA, which is a developmental disability agency, and wasn't able to, but just wanted to share a little bit of information about them. So I've actually seen these guys at work. My sister-in-law has 6 kids, and half of them have autism. And so their family utilizes this agency on a daily basis. So specifically, so prevalent problems for families here in the community, I think, is just kind of for children who have disabilities. Oftentimes, families don't know how to assist them or don't know how to best how to raise them according to their disabilities, or they're not educated with whatever they've been diagnosed with. And so this specific agency, they offer many different programs. So not only with not being able to really know what to do, parents who have kids who are disabled also get burnt out easily, as they're constantly involving, it's like 24/7 care, heightened for parents because of the children's needs. And so I thought it was interesting that Journeys, they do habilitative intervention. So for children who are trying to, get associated with the society and to try to live on their own and whatnot, they were able to work with that. They have habilitative supports. They provide respite care, family education training, therapeutic consultations, and then also crisis intervention. So this organization, they help children and families through all those different programs. And I would say that this program is, I would say it's family focused, as it provides services for both children and for parents. They don't necessarily step in to help kids where families are failing. It's more like they step in to help parents kind of cope with the situation, or to help the children learn and to grow, how to adapt to society. And so one question I was thinking about regarding the chapter we read is, how is this program beneficial for the community, like in the long run? And there's several things that are beneficial about it. One, it helps the children, they get to learn life skills to be able to, maybe one day, if they're capable of it, be able to be citizens who are able to support themselves, or to be able to interact within society. Another thing is that they allow families to have the proper tools to take care of their children, which will reduce the amount of abuse that goes on in families. Because if, it's very easy for parents to be over frustrated at something that they don't understand. So by educating them, they're able to reduce that. And then another thing with this agency is they're able to create a better unity within families, which carry on into children's lives through school and work and everything else that they do. And that's about it.
So is it an organization that insurance covers the cost of participating in it?
Yes. Yeah, they take Medicaid, I believe, or one of the insurance things. Yeah. But yeah, they take insurance.
And like private insurance too. Yeah.
Yeah. Because right now the state is funding my sister-in-law's like family disability care.
That's a really great organization. And it's such a high need. It would be interesting to know if they feel like they see success, in particular with lower rates of abuse and frustration from parents, because that's so important.
Yeah, I know with my family, they've recently started taking advantage of their respite care program. And that's helped, like, bless their hearts. Like, they're always so busy and always so like, just kind of burnt out, and so it allows them that opportunity to like go on a date without their kids, and like to increase that unity just between husband and wife.
And how do people get referred to this organization? How are they identified?
I believe they have to have their child diagnosed at like a doctor's, and then that can be taken to the agency, and then they can get the services provided.
Interesting.
I'm not sure on that, but I think that's how that works.
Yeah.
And just really quickly, like I know, because I don't work for Journeys, but I work for a place that does the same thing. And I know, like, just from working with those people, that the things they do there, like Amelia's probably seen it on the family end, and I've seen it just from just working with them, that the things they do at those places, they do work, and there is benefits, like on the family end, where it, as they begin to function more like human beings, the families do become more patient with them, more understanding, because it's easier to understand when people act like their age or more like their age or things like that. So not to take over your thing, but
oh no, thank you for adding more insight. Do you want to share your interview, Morgan?
Sure. Yes.
Are we keeping a summary real quick? Did we assign that? No.
Are we supposed to have a summary?
I don't think we have.
You don't think so? Okay. Because it's kind of, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll look it up while we're talking and see.
Okay.
So for my interview, I went to the Center for Hope and interviewed the manager there. She's a pretty cool lady. And she told me that she first got involved with the Center for Hope because she was actually working at a place that helps rehabilitate women who are on drugs or who have severe mental health disorders. But once they left the facility, right, then a lot of times they fall back into that family system. And there's nothing for them in the community, and their insurance is like, well, you've already like been through this facility thing, so you should be fine. And so she went to the people who had created this facility, and she's like, we've done all these studies and things, and we really feel like there's a gap in the community to help people once they get out to like function in their families and in their lives. And stay clean or stay mentally healthy. And so she worked with them to create the Center for Hope, which is pretty cool. Like she went out, she got grants and did things to help create the center to help serve individuals and their families. And so she said that as far as the most prevalent for problems for families here in the community with what she sees, it's just that the parents have already estranged themselves from their families. They a lot of times have done things that are so horrible that it's hard for their spouse to trust them or their children to trust them because they've been on drugs, and people do stuff on drugs that they wouldn't normally do. And so she's just saying that having a safe place for them to start rebuilding those relationships is really important. And so some of the things that they do at the center are just for individuals, but some of them are also for families. So they have classes where families can come and learn how to help individuals who are on drugs and work to establish healthy boundaries with them. They have painting classes where you can bring your kids and everybody can paint together, or ice cream socials where everybody is welcome to come. And they're working on instituting more parenting classes and more like relationship classes and things like that, just because there's such a big need. And so she said that is definitely family focused, because even though like half the services are for the individual, when you teach the individual how to be healthy within their family system, then that can help change the family system. But then you have the family come in and do activities, and so that helps the family itself as well. And then I also asked her, would they ever consider opening up a center for teens, just as one of the other questions. And she said, because they can't have the teens in the same facility as the adults, because there are a lot of people could sneak stuff in that they're not supposed to, and then they have to call the police, and it just gets fun. Plus, anybody can come into the Center for Hope, which means they could have heaven knows what kind of record, and it wouldn't be safe for kids just to be in there by themselves. So anybody under the age of 18 has to have adult supervision. So they would have to create a separate center. And she says it's something they want to do in the future. They would just have to get the grant funding for it and community organizations to see that it's valuable enough to invest in it. And then the other thing that I asked about was whether or not she would consider having workshops there for people who are interested in workshops. And she said, yeah, obviously it would have to be for free. But the workshops, if people were interested in that sort of intense education instead of like over a long period of time, because the meetings, they have them every week, but it's like for half an hour or it's for an hour. It's not like a workshop that intensively focuses on it. That she would be open to that, but there would just have to be people willing to provide that service. And it's actually kind of cool because my practicum partner and I are going to present there. So yeah. So that was my interview with her.
That's awesome. What is your practicum on?
Parent-child relationships.
Hurry up.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is really neat.
Jesse, you have a practicum coming up too, right?
Yes, I taught it last night,
Okay.
actually, and I taught it to adolescents, so to the youth. It went really well. The girls were very talkative for the topic that we talked about.
Good.
So,
Good.
anyways.
How did yours go, Tammy?
It went really well. And whew, that's done.
Done. Yeah. Good.
We did both of ours in one day. So that was,
Wow.
I think the disadvantage of that is that we didn't get to reflect. Plus, we taught two different audiences. So.
Oh.
Because we did parents and then teens of those parents. Yeah, but Morgan, I think that's really neat that you got to interview at the same place that you're going to do your practicum, because that creates a connection, you know?
Yeah, and that was kind of nice. She's a really neat lady. She's cool.
I think it's also interesting. I think it's cool that you're able to do that workshop at the organization, because as you said, they'd be willing to have those if someone's willing to conduct them. So this opportunity could be your foot in the door if you ever wanted to be an FLE and be able to like work with the organization.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So I checked the board again, and Kayleen is traveling, and so she kind of had the times all mixed up, but she put her summary there on that. And I'm going to be interviewing, it's actually a friend, but she works in the foster care system for Utah County, and she heads up that's the thing. I'm glad I get to interview her to get that more of what her title is. But she goes in and does the home interviews. But she approves homes and she interviews the parents, and she's over that part of the department. So that'll be really interesting to talk to her and see. She's always doing community stuff through her job. So, and I think it's really, the thing I think is most interesting listening to all of what everyone's summarizing is that every one of these organizations affects so many different levels of the community.
Mm-hmm.
They don't exist in a bubble.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing.
Sneak.
Okay.
All right. We done then?
I haven't even looked at next week. What's next week?
I don't even know.
Oh, next week we have to create a blog or a Facebook
Post?
something about a risk to the family.
Mama.
All together or as individuals?
In groups or in teams, I don't know. Yeah, she hasn't posted an announcement yet, so I don't know. It did say you had to work with somebody and coordinate with them.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Who's going to lead next week then?
I haven't led in a while, so I can lead.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
All
See you guys next week.
right. Bye.